In this course, you will discover how to take your architectural photography to the next level by creating clean, compositionally correct images, and how to take an ordinary image into an extraordinary, professionally finished image, also known as the wow factor. You will learn camera settings and what equipment you need, and some optional equipment that you may want to consider. You will learn about high-quality gear as well as inexpensive options that are much more budget-friendly. From that foundation, you will learn how to photograph buildings not only during the day, but the best times of day for light and color. You will also gain an understanding of the obstacles that you're going to face during the day and solutions for them. You will learn what you need to know about photographing buildings at night as well, when you don't have available light and you'll need to use longer exposures. These techniques will allow you to achieve amazing results that often daytime images cannot. You will also learn about HDR photography. HDR stands for High Dynamic Range, and this technique can definitely provide that wow factor. You'll be taken through how you need to set your camera for those and also how to process the images in post-production afterwards. In this course, you're also going to learn how to optimize Lightroom and Photoshop using creative and effective methods that will streamline your workflow. Editing can be overwhelming to some, but you will learn a step-by-step process that you will be able to repeat to achieve professional results time after time. And last but not least, you will be inspired by additional tips and tricks that the pros use for visually appealing results. These tips are a great checklist to take your work to the next level. By the end of this course, there is no doubt that you will be able to produce the same remarkable images you've seen from the pros and how it's done. Welcome to the Basics of Photography online tutorial. This course is brought to you by Creative Online School. Greetings, my name is Barbara. I have been a photographer for 18 years and I will be your instructor. In this course, you will learn the basics of photography, including what is photography. You're also going to learn about the exposure triangle, ISO, aperture, shutter speed. You're going to learn about JPEG versus RAW, light metering, and more. So what is photography? The literal translation of photography means drawing light. Most don't associate photography to drawing with light, but they should. As you will find in this course, photography is all about the light. As photographers, our biggest challenge is light. And there is so much to know about light, the quality of light, the color of light, the direction of light, and a lot more. The impact of photos are amazing. Our brains process visual images 60,000 times faster than written information. And through photography, we preserve history, our children walking and taking their first steps, endangered animals, decaying buildings, times of war, and times of passion. These famous images definitely give you a feel for the impact of photography and how capturing this slice of life is telling a story. It gives us a sense of what's past and of history. I believe we inherited the art of photography from painters who preserved history with a paintbrush rather than a camera. Greetings, my name is Barbara Berry and this course is on architectural photography. This course is brought to you by Creative Online School. I have enjoyed photography for many years, starting learning from my father back in the film days in his studio. I learned a lot by shooting film, but really became exciting to me once I switched to digital photography. Digital photography has opened so many doors. Editing is like an art, which can be confusing when you start out, but this course will provide some simple solutions. My first digital camera had a whopping 6 megapixels. It was a Canon D60 and I purchased it in 2002. It was Canon's third digital camera ever produced, and the maximum ISO was 1000, and it only had 3 autofocus points. Believe it or not, the quality was actually quite good, but obviously that technology has grown a great deal since then, and it continues to improve exponentially today. In this course, you will discover how to take your architectural photography to the next level by creating clean, compositionally correct images, and how to take an ordinary image into an extraordinary, professionally finished image, also known as the wow factor. You will learn camera settings and what equipment you need, and some optional equipment that you may want to consider. You will learn about high-quality gear as well as inexpensive options that are much more budget-friendly. From that foundation, you will learn how to photograph buildings not only during the day, but the best times of day for light and color. You will also gain an understanding of the obstacles that you're going to face during the day and solutions for them. You will learn what you need to know about photographing buildings at night as well, when you don't have available light and you'll need to use longer exposures. These techniques will allow you to achieve amazing results that often daytime images cannot. You will also learn about HDR photography. HDR stands for High Dynamic Range, and this technique can definitely provide that wow factor. You'll be taken through how you need to set your camera for those, and also how to process the images in post-production afterwards. In this course, you're also going to learn how to optimize Lightroom and Photoshop using creative and effective methods that will streamline your workflow. Editing can be overwhelming to some, but you will learn a step-by-step process that you will be able to repeat to achieve professional results time after time. And last but not least, you will be inspired by additional tips and tricks that the pros use for visually appealing results. These tips are a great checklist to take your work to the next level. By the end of this course, there is no doubt that you will be able to produce the same remarkable images you've seen from the pros and how it's done. So let's talk about what is architectural photography exactly. Architectural photography is a broad subject encompassing everything from modern architecture, like you see here, that can also include the interior of buildings, historical buildings, skyscrapers and city buildings, bridges. It can include real estate photography, which also includes some interior and possibly drone photography to capture the size of the property. It also includes barns and even shacks. Although there is a broad range of subjects for architectural photography, the principles and techniques that you're going to learn in this course will apply to all of them. Arguably one of the most challenging types of photography, it brings on a plethora of problems and issues you will undoubtedly face. Buildings are inevitably taller than the camera angle, so distortion is almost guaranteed. So you'll need to keep perspective control. And this course will demonstrate a few ways that can be done. You also need to gain an understanding of converging lines, when to correct them, and also how to leverage them. You will also gain an understanding of depth of field, since the landscape surrounding a building is important to communicate the static harmony and the feel of its environment. All the while, you need to be aware of those issues. You also need to focus on the horizon lines and compelling composition. You need a foreground, a middle ground, a background. In other words, you have a lot to think about. You're solving a multitude of challenges, and at the same time, you're trying to create an image dynamic enough to move the soul of your viewer. The cultural significance of architectural photography dates back to 1835, with the first permanent photograph ever taken, named View from the Window at Le Gras by Nicéphore Niepce. It is a skill worthy of learning not only for the creative opportunity, but it'll definitely yield better images from your travels and your memories. So let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to Lesson 1 of Mastering Adobe Lightroom. My name's Julia. I've been a photographer for nearly 10 years, and I've been using Lightroom for nearly 8 years, and I really cannot imagine my life without it. It is a great software. In this course, I'm going to teach you all of the ins and outs of Lightroom. I'm going to start by introducing you to the basics of the software, and then in other tutorials, I'm going to teach you how to import photos, create collections, and use all of the software's wonderful editing tools, such as color correction, white balance correction, lens correction, the adjustment brush, spot removal, radial filter, and graduated filter. I'll also teach you about presets and how to use them, and also, of course, how to export your images to your hard drive or to your online photo sharing service. In this lesson, I'm going to show you the fundamental Lightroom features and functions. I'm going to walk you through the Lightroom layout and go over some of the benefits of using the software. This tutorial is brought to you by Creative Online School. First thing first, what is Lightroom exactly? It's a workflow software for photographers. People use the application to organize, edit, and present their photos regardless of the file type. In this video, I'm going to focus on the organization and processing aspects of Lightroom. Once you've imported your photos into Lightroom, it should look something like this. This is your library, and it's where you're going to do most of your non-editing work. You can make some minor color and exposure adjustments in the quick develop pane, but nothing compared to what you can. Adding keyword tags can be really helpful, especially if you have thousands of photos in your image library. For this photo, I entered animals and squirrel as keywords. And Lightroom saves your tags, so if you need to use them again, you can just click what's already listed. In the metadata section, you can manually add information about your photos, and you can also look at the settings with which you shot the photo. And finally, you can add comments to your photos. The reason my library says comments not supported here is because I haven't synced this library with Lightroom Mobile. Yet. So, if you want to use this function, make sure you sync up. Now let's look at how useful keywords can be if you're working from a populated library. I'm going to look for my squirrel. If I type in animals, pictures with other animals show up. If I type in squirrel, the squirrel pictures come up. Now let's move over to the catalog panel on the left-hand side. Your catalog is your entire photo collection. You can view it in its entirety, or you can view only your synced photos or images from your previous import. You can also add photos to your quick collection by pressing the B key when the image is selected. The Folders pane shows you where the images in your Lightroom library are located on your internal or external hard drives. One of the best things about Lightroom is that it's a database, and none of the changes you make to an image with Lightroom will affect the original file. If you imported a group of images to edit from one folder, you can find that folder and work with all of the other images together and export them when you're finished. But if you have loads of folders and clutter on your hard drive, it might be easier for you to just make collections and collection sets. For example, if I were making a collection of photos about animals, I might make a collection set called Animals and then make a collection for each type of animal, as I did here. The Develop tab is located just to the right of the Library tab. This is where you're going to do all of your editing work. The tools are conveniently listed in the order in which users are more likely to use them. Starting with the basic adjustments, you can quickly make necessary changes to the color and lighting settings of your image. If you want to make more dynamic changes to your photo's tone settings, the tone curve is a good tool for that. HSL, color, black and white, and the split toning tool both affect the hues and colors of your images. Then, the detail tool allows you to zoom into part of your image and add or reduce noise. The lens corrections and the transform tab both help you fix distortion caused by your lens. Then, the effects pane is good to use when you're in the final stages of the editing process. And finally, there's camera calibration at the bottom, which is useful for gathering information about your raw files. Now let's move back to the top of the Develop panel and look at the local adjustments. The first tab on the left is the Crop and Straighten tool. The next tool is the Spot tool, which can be used to remove pretty much any unwanted object from your photos. The third tab is the Red Eye tab, and the last three tools are filters. These allow you to make changes to specific areas of your images. The first is the Graduated filter, followed by the Radial filter and the Brush filter. Congratulations! You have now finished the first lesson of the Mastering Adobe Lightroom course. About Lightroom's interface to get started. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. In the next tutorial, I will teach you about importing your files to Lightroom. This course is brought to you by Creative Online School.